G'day, this is Adam doing another Mad Micro RC Mods video. And this video is the Crazon. Let's all get Crazon about Crazon. Well, I did a little bit because it didn't quite work properly when I got it, but it was a blessing in disguise because I put a servo in it basically. The Crazon is a 132 scale car. It's very lightweight, has front suspension. That was the main reason I got it, to see if front suspension in a micro actually ever works. It's a gigahertz based system when you get them stock. The unusual thing about it, I suppose, is it runs a lithium capacitor. But I did tech talk at the end of this and went over how I removed the capacitor and replaced it with a lithium battery. And there's lots of modification options for this one that came up straight away. If I had to rate this car, good, bad, ugly, or unbelievably good, it's somewhere between good and unbelievably good, believe it or not. So, I won't go into too much detail. You want to find out more, you stick around. And for now, I'll show a bit of footage on the track of this car before I spun the pinion, because I overpowered it, but I also show a fix on how to repair a spun pinion in this video. So if you ever had that problem, it's not a problem anymore. So, you want to see what this thing does? Stick around. You like the video, please share, subscribe, spread. Okay, this is the first time out testing of the Crazon with the servo and battery mod. I've constructed a new test track downstairs. Pretty much it's just a long straight, two bends and a chicane. And at the start of the chicane I've added a take a risk shortcut, go over a jump option. The cars that I'll be running today I'll go over in a second. The track in construction, as you can see, is pretty much just some tape, bits of wood, a couple of round things for your corners, which is always a good idea to have. Deflect the cars a bit of foam on the faster outside corner, and yeah, that's basically it. You don't need a great deal to have a lot of fun with these small cars with a couple of friends. So anyway, I'll quickly go over the cars and we'll get started. Okay, so all I've really done to this car is put a WL Toys board from one of these cars inside it, a 60 milliamp hour battery, and I've also put a smaller servo than they run in these cars. But that's pretty much all I've done. So running these other cars against it should be a good comparison. Although it does have smaller wheels and other limitations against them, it'll be interesting to see how it goes. The cars I'll be running against it will be the wheelie car, which is standard trim, WL Toys short course truck. The main mods to this is a big motor, it's got a small pinion, and it has ball bearing rear end. It's also got a battery mod. It likes to do wheelies. It's a lot of fun to drive. Tends to roll over a lot because of its high top end. The other car I run, probably just a little bit though, it's still a work in progress, is my lowered WL Toys car. It's basically been lowered all round. I've shown this one before. I think it's got adjustable rear height in the rear. It's got a big motor, small pinion, a few other odds and ends done to it, battery mod and all that. And this one, which featured recently in the high speed video I did, is by far one of my absolute favourite cars I have ever built. I still can't believe that it actually worked out as well as it did. It's sort of, you know, got pretty much similar mods on it. I've lowered the rear end in a way, it's adjustable. I can run different foam tyres on it. It's got the ball bearing rear end with the carbon fibre and a big motor and a big pinion. Surprisingly enough though, it still gets up and goes like crazy. It is unsuited for this surface completely, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens. So that's the cars. Let's get started. Crazon. Oh, it turns out the Crazon was quite a handful, keeping in mind that this has still got a stock standard motor. The only real changes I've made is a servo and the battery. Now you could get a stock one of these cars and probably put a 60 milliamp hour LiPo in it, and the car will really perform well, because basically the LiPo's got a higher C rating than the lithium capacitor that comes in the car. It's got a plug, so you can probably do it without modifying anything or cutting anything. And yeah, the weight difference, it's about 3 grams or more weight difference between the lithium capacitor and the LiPo battery. So basically it's lighter and you got more amps, so it's going to go faster. Now with this one I put a WL Toys board and a micro servo in it.
I used a 60 milliamp hour battery initially. I found my drive times were about 5 minutes, 6 minutes, depending on how fast I was going. So I put a 130 in it, and I get about 9 to 10 minutes now, which is, you know, good enough. And the added weight of that battery seems to actually help the car track a little better. Well, I was hoping because it was buggy and it had front springs, it might actually be a good, easy car to jump. But it turns out it's very, very hard to get it to land on all four wheels, and if you do, it tends to be very bouncy. Because the car has springs and no damping whatsoever, it's a sort of a bouncy landing if you do get it right. If you get it sort of a little bit forward, the front suspension dips down and will dig in. If you sort of get it right, the back tends to travel more than the front and you get this bouncy sort of effect. But, I mean, for the size of the car and what I'm putting it through, I think it's doing alright. It's nowhere near as easy to jump as a WL Toys car, but as far as a track car goes and a buggy and that goes, I'm definitely going to have to put a 50,000 RPM motor in it and take it outside and see what sort of speeds it does. So, it's not that easy to jump, but that's, I suppose, part of the fun and half the challenge. It does like to land on its wheels and it doesn't like to roll over in corners. So, I mean, it's probably, you know, as far as these cars go, value for money, it's right up there. It's a real good one. I had a lot of fun doing this one, and I thank the subscriber that sent a comment telling me about it. It was a bit of a challenge, this car, to do the mods on it. It was a bit of a challenge to do this video, but it was worth the result, I think. Not necessarily the video, that's a matter of opinion, but more the quality of the build. Now, yeah, this funny noise I heard a couple of times.
And that is a spun pinion. The noise here, that means the pinion is no longer connected to the shaft. It's spinning loosely. There's not much you can do except pull it apart and fix it. My high-speed WL Toys car, not suited to this surface.
Okay, I just thought before I show you the final result of this car, I'd just give it a quick run on foam tyres. Obviously, the car doesn't have the weight on the foam tyres to make it get around the track without having a backwards cornering sort of thing going on. Clearly it's well and truly overpowered like that. It's just for a bit of fun. So what I've been doing is putting rubber tyres on the rear. And the results are quite a surprise. It gives you good steering, a little bit of understeer if you're not ready for it. You got to get the weight back over the front wheels to turn and that. It took me a little while to get used to a new line. Also, I started to use the reverse or the brake function for the first time ever. And I sort of found out that it can be a track car. I'd like to actually rebuild the second car with slightly wider foam front tyres, a lower gear ratio, rubber rear tyres, the same sort of height set up in the suspension, and I think it would make an awesome track car. I'd like to gear this one up more, so it won't be a track car anymore, but it'll do a much higher top speed and some high speed runs. So yeah, after a while, a bit of practice, the car got faster and faster. Tend not to jump this one for obvious reasons. It's not really designed for it and doesn't really work very well as a jumping car. Didn't want to push it to find out, so I didn't. But yeah, I always have a barrel of fun with this one. It's by far my favourite car. Easy to build. Anyone could pretty much grab one of these cars online and build something like this from it. This track's only probably 3.5 metres long. On the straight, and the car is definitely hitting over its 30 kilometres now, 35 k's, but you know, I expected it to. The car let go free will hit nearly 50 k's, so yeah, barrels of fun.
So, you spun the pinion on your micro IRC and it's knackered. You don't have spare parts. What do? There is a way to fix this. I'll show you one of the ways to fix it right now. Okay, you spun your pinion, how do you fix it? Well, there's a few ways to do it. This is a quick and easy cheat way to do it, which may hold up for a little while, may not last that long because I've overpowered the car a little bit, but it's a quick and easy solution to get your car going again. Get some Gutterman thread, you want to pinch it, maybe give it a little bit of a twist so it, the two ends come together and form a little point like that. Yes, you have to lick it if you need to or whatever. And basically what you do is you get your, and I'll just use this example motor to do it. I won't do it on the motor I'm going to use for now. Get your pinion, pull it out, get your cotton, and the Gutterman thread's the best one. And if you're really keen and you've got a real problem, what you can do is you can rough up the shaft a little bit, put the thread through, and then also use a little bit of glue as well. And you'll really hold it back on. I've got a car that's been running since this happened, 6 months ago, and I run the car sort of every couple of weeks for a bit of fun. Look at the wheelie car. Pinion still hasn't come loose. So you get your thread, now you want to unsplit your twist. There you go, so you've got two ends. And then what you want to do is you want to try and fold your two ends on the opposite sides of the, there we go, the hole. Something like that to look at. And then get your pinion, get your motor, insert it just a little bit just to get it started. And whenever you're pushing these things together, make sure that you're pushing down on the pinion. You'll have leads coming off the back, and push on the motor's casing to push it in and that. If you get these and you push really hard like this to get them on, you'll push this off the back of the motor. This is the brush gear and the plastic cap. So yeah, it's always good to push the pinion down and apply pressure to the cap instead. So what you're going to do is yeah, push that down as much as you need to. A bit more. Yep, that'll do it for now. Still got a bit of a gap. And then you just get a hobby knife and you cut off your excess. On the shaft, you basically can cheat a little bit. So your loose pinion now should be a lot firmer, so it's not coming off as easily anymore. It's not a surefire fix all the time. Sometimes if you've spun the pinion and you've tried to run the motor and the shaft is spun up inside the hole, it will wreck the hole too much. But yeah, basically you can do that. And like I said, if you're really having a problem, you can actually rough up the shaft a little bit, 2 or 3 places, get some Gutterman thread like I did, put a tiny dab of glue, and like with this setup you can even put a tiny dab of glue over the end of that hole, poke it in with a pin, let it set, and it'll actually help hold it in place. Generally you'll find out, within the first 5 minutes if it's worked or not. Okay, this will be the tech talk part of the video where I just show a little bit about this car, what parts were in it, what I did to it to put a servo in it. Basically, this is the car, probably about 70% complete. I'll pull the lid off. I haven't changed the motor or anything like that yet. I'm just waiting to see how it goes with the improved battery power. But what I have done is I've basically hacked out this space here, this space here, this space here. So a lot of material, there's almost nothing left in the car, there's no strength in it. But when you put the body back together and you put the, the roll cage back on it, it should be enough meat that it holds together. Now the bottom part of the car, I've done the same thing. I've sort of hacked out more material on the inside just to make more room. I've hacked out a lot of material here to fit the servo in, and I've removed all these components. There's bits of plastic left over. The original battery, which is actually a lithium capacitor. So it's not actually a LiPo, it's a lithium capacitor. It's going to be around a 60 milliamp hour capacitor slash battery type thing, but its C rating's pretty appalling. So you could quite easily, just if you wanted to, if you got one that worked, unlike the one I got that didn't work, that's why I did this modification, you could quite easily put this 60 milliamp hour battery in the car, which is actually smaller, lighter. I think this capacitor thing weighs about 4 grams, 4.5 grams or something. This battery weighs 1.6 grams. So straight away by changing this to this, you'll have a higher C rating, you should have more speed top end, and also the weight reduction should also aid in that as well. The equipment I'm putting in the car, or what I used in the car, was a Atomic Racer, or a WL Toys L939 Speedflux short course truck. This is the board that they have inside them, which is an extremely versatile board. The only downside to it only works with the 5-wire servos, which are a little harder to find, but they are out there. It's just hard to find small ones. If you get like this helicopter called the Twist, and there's a few other things that they sell here and there, this servo, which is a little bit smaller than a stock standard servo that normally comes with that style of board, and it works, and it's also got the same end on it, so the servo saver actually fits as well. So with this car I deliberately included the servo saver in the front end setup. I haven't finished assembling it yet, but basically it just locks on there. Steering bar goes to the bottom. And yeah, if you're a little bit new to using servos, like if your micro IC stuff in the past has mainly been actuators or a motor steering system or whatever, the servo saver is basically just a small device. There's one on this servo here, which is normally a spring-loaded type device of some kind, which if you put too much loading on this steering arm, which is attached directly to the wheel, so you bump the wheels really hard in a crash, it actually allows a little bit of slip movement. It'll open up and it'll actually slip the joint a little bit, rather than the little gears and stuff inside the servo taking the full impact of you crashing into something. The servo saver takes it up instead, and it stops the gears from stripping. You don't need to use servo savers on planes and helicopters and things like that, but on cars it's sort of essential. So yeah, I'll quickly show what I did with the steering joints as well. These little arms in here, if you can see them, they've got a little twist in them. That twist wasn't hard to do, I just used a soldering iron, but I didn't touch the plastic on the soldering iron. I got an arm off a different car which I had laying around, and I basically just held it over the soldering iron as close as I could without touching, and then put some weight on it to twist it. I twisted it just past 90 degrees and waited for the plastic to harden and I let go. This one didn't work out. I could have redone it, but it didn't matter. It was just a test to see if it was possible. So it's not actually a 90-degree twist in that one. You can see that. But the plastic on these arms is a better quality. It's the plastic that'll bend a lot before it even discolours or starts to deform or break. And yeah, I did the twist on both of these, and they sort of came out almost identically the same, and perfect as far as the what I needed to do. Also the servo saver, I used a standard servo saver. I just cut the little bar off the end, and then I drilled a hole through it, about a 1mm hole, and then I used a screw off another servo saver. So I'm sort of using what I've got lying around. I've also got a little nylon washer or two that I'll put in there as well, and that was basically all I did to the front end. So there was a little bit of cutting to get the board to fit in. So it goes in like that, and then the top section I've had to obviously cut pieces out. There's a slot there for the servo, and also for the charging socket. And on the underside, surprisingly enough, the switch actually lines up. So all I had to do was just open the slot a bit and it fit. So yeah, that was a bonus. And yeah, so that's it. So far so good. If it was fun in the video, I'll put more power in it and probably really give it a hard time and see what breaks. If not, great. Could be a bit of fun. The reason I was a little bit excited about this one is because it does have suspension in the front end, although when you get the car and have a look at it, most of the suspension is actually like this flex that they have in the front more than the spring. The springs actually help support it, but most of that flex is actually coming through here. So it's not a pivot joint, it's just a plastic bending joint. So that's the car. Any questions, please put it in the comments, I'll try and answer. If you enjoy what you see in these videos, please subscribe, share, spread as usual. Share. I need a few more shares. I'm a little bit low on them at the moment. It'll be great. And as mentioned in some of the other videos previously, Coke can cars will definitely be next. I may even do a how-to video using that Skyline there, because it's a little bit bigger, but it has principally all the same equipment and components inside it, so it may just make it a little easier to film and to show, and I'll do a bit of soldering as well. People have been asking about that. Hope to see you next time. This is Adam out. By the way, sorry it's not quite a video a week. I'm trying very, very hard under some very difficult circumstances currently. So this is Adam from AVA Magnetic Levitation, finishing another Mad Micro RC mods.